Slowhands Rock Talk Show.
Yep. Thank you so much for making a little bit of time out of your afternoon to come on to the podcast and speak to myself all about music. As I just said there, we will speak about music for yourselves. We'll speak about the band, of course, and we will speak about everything else that fits in between. But before we get started, how are each of you actually doing? How are you doing today?
This episode is sponsored by Flare Audio, who are kind enough to send me some of their products out. And for someone that's a regular gigging musician, someone that works recording music, and also someone that's a regular concert goer, they did have a product for all my needs. The first product they sent me was the Definition earplug, which helps to increase sound quality without increasing the sound volume. Excellent to use when gaming, when attending live concerts, and when listening to music in general. The second product they sent me was the Camera Performance earplug, which was a great earplug to use when working from home or in the office, when you need to maybe focus a little bit better and keep those stress levels down. The third product they sent us was the Earshade earplugs, which as a regular gigging musician, these were very helpful when actually playing gigs, standing close to a PA system. Found them very useful, and by the end of the night my ears were still in good shape. The final product they sent us was the E-Prototype headphones. For someone that records and mixes music, I always like to do the headphone test towards the end of the mix, and these are the headphones to use. The dynamics sound great, blocks out background noise, and it's crystal clear to hear as well. So check out Flare Audio at their official website, www.flareaudio.com. They're also on social media. They've got lots of different products and accessories, so check them out. And now on to the video.
Not too bad. Doing pretty good.
Doing great. Super excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, what I do with all the guests is I go back to the very beginning. So for each of you, where were you brought up?
Here in California.
Yeah, I also was brought up in California here in down in Huntington Beach.
Right, California's a big state. So is that the Los Angeles area?
Los Angeles area, yeah.
Not for me. I grew up in Orange County, but yeah, close, an hour away.
Right, and maybe a silly question for each of you: were you exposed to music from a young age? And if so, where did that come from? Was that parents? Was it siblings? Was it friends?
Mm-hmm. Well, I come from a musically inclined family. They for a long line of drummers, actually, and I was the first to play guitar. So
right.
Yeah, I don't know, because no one in my family is musical, so I'm not really sure. But I just had like an obsession with singing as a child, and I just remember always telling my mom I wanted singing lessons really bad, and she would ask me like, why? Like, you don't sing? Yeah. Like, no one sings. But I guess I had this innate knowing I was going to be a singer as a child, before it ever kind of showed its way as a serious talent. So
it's quite nice, I think, if you've got that it's something that you just know that you want to do.
Yeah.
Because there's some people don't discover it until a lot later in life, and then the one regret that they always have is that they wish that they'd done it earlier.
Yeah, of course. Although I think with everybody, maybe sometimes talents happen at a certain time for a reason, and different things happen for different reasons. So, it's good not to other people have asked me this too. It's good not to beat yourself up about it. But, I definitely think, I was blessed that I did know as a child that this is what I was going to do. I didn't know I was going to be in a band. I actually planned on doing more of I thought I was going to do theater and Broadway, So, I love being in a band, and, I'm just grateful that something inside me knew that that's what I was going to do.
Yeah. Give me a laugh. Go back, cast your minds back. What was the first professional concert each of you attended? Who was the artist? Who was the band?
For me, it was Korn and Stained. Stained opened up, and it was.
Where would that have been performed at?
That would have been at the Forum, I believe, in Inglewood out here in Los Angeles. It was right around, I think, when Issues came out, and then Stained was still rocking like the Dysfunction album with Mud Shovel and that.
So is that Korn's third or fourth album?
I think that was their fourth album.
Right.
Yeah, it was Follow the Leader and then Issues.
What about yourself, Rainey?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I know. But I do know that when I was a kid, the one thing I saw on TV, I can't remember the first concert. You would think I would know, but I don't know. But I can remember when I was a kid, I would watch Gwen Stefani on stage, and I would also watch Madonna on TV. On TV. Yeah. And I knew watching both of them that I was like, I'm gonna do that. Like that's what I'm gonna do. So I was very heavily influenced by a lot of the major Gwen Stefani's kind of rock, but yeah, like a lot of the female performers on TV. So yeah.
Even those two that you mentioned there, they're quite unique, but there are similarities there as well.
Yeah, definitely. They have similarities, and I just loved. I knew I was super expressive like that, and that I wanted to be on that level. So yeah, but I don't remember the first concert, which is kind of weird. I've got to scour my mind. I know.
I think that it was maybe something embarrassing, and that you're too shy to tell us just now.
No, actually, you're right. No, I just don't really remember. I don't know. I'll think about it and I'll let you know.
Well, a similar question. Then, what was the last professional concert that you attended?
We went to.
I think it was Aftershock.
No.
Oh no! Actually, we just saw Pantera at the Forum.
Pantera.
Yeah, we went and saw Pantera
at the Forum.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw them. They played Glasgow at the start of the year. I'm assuming it's probably the same tour, and they finally made it obviously over to America. But I saw them at the start of the year, and it was a strange one. It was impressive. It's not Pantera, but it was a lovely tribute to the brothers.
Oh, of course.
And it's obviously great to still hear those songs in a live setting.
Yeah, totally. It was amazing. The show was amazing. They were awesome. I was kind of blown away by the singer. He doesn't wear shoes. So on stage. Yeah.
He's so chilled out now compared to the way that he used to be.
Yeah.
But I saw them back in the 90s, towards the end of the 90s, and I think maybe too much partying had caught up with them because they were one of my favourite bands, and I wanted them to be great, and they weren't, because it was too much probably drinking drugs, whereas
of course.
Such a great show, and he looked happy to be up there on stage performing, and a little bit slower than his self, but we'll let him away with it. But Rainey, you'd said that you obviously from a very young age you wanted to sing. Was singing your first instrument?
Yeah. It was. I actually never even thought I was going to play piano, but I just I could sing as a child. My talent had to be developed, but I already had a natural ability to sing.
Yeah.
I just knew I had to sing, so I studied opera, and I did a lot of musical theater songs too. And then, I really started getting into rock music, and I love the expression from rock music, and just being able to express yourself and be able to be real. And that's kind of what tore me to really wanting to do rock music and explore and express myself as an artist. So.
Chris, what made you pick up the guitar? Why the guitar? Why not the bass or the drums or singing? What was it about the guitar?
I was still a huge Metallica fan, and watching James and Kirk and even Dave Mustaine before that, I was just so blown away. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. There was nothing that I was interested in when I was younger. And, all these kids want, I want to be a cop, or I want to be this, or I want to be that. I was like, no, man, I want to be a rock star, dude. That's all I want.
See, for both of you, if it's singing, if it's playing the guitar, Chris, you mentioned a couple there already, but who were your musical influences? See, when you were starting out, when you were learning your instrument, when you were learning to sing, who were some of the people you were looking up to?
Yeah.
I liked a lot of I loved Gwen Stefani. I loved Amy Lee from Evanescence was another big inspiration for me. That was the first time I saw that really like a female could really like take over the rock scene the way that she did and have that kind of voice. Like it's different than like a Joan Jett or something, because Joan Jett, she sings, but she's not like she's great and she's badass, but she's a little different than Amy Lee. And I feel like I understand a little bit of Amy Lee's vibe just because we have maybe a similar style voice. Yeah. And so that was a big influence for me.
I had someone on the podcast just recently, I can't remember who it was now, it was maybe a few episodes ago, and we were talking about Evanescence because it's quite that style of music. There's a lot of it now, but back when they first came out, unique because she was singing beautifully, like she was really a great singer.
Yeah,
and she wasn't. There was a few female bands prior to that where they maybe tried to recreate the growl that a lot of the guys do, but she wasn't shy to actually sing. And my God, what a voice that she's got! But you've got heavy music backing it. Yeah, a little bit of piano. It adds a different element to it. And though there's quite a few now, but I think they started a whole new genre.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's what I really loved. I loved listening to her style of music, because I felt like it could be heavy and expressive, but like still you're able to like really showcase your talent. Like I was never a screamer or anything like that, because I studied opera and stuff. So like I really had to learn technique and singing and whatnot. So for me, it was important to be able to express the skill level that I had. And that band is one that I connect to a lot. And I think that she's just great and they're really great. So yeah.
You mentioned Metallica, one of my favourite bands. So you've got James and Kirk. I mean, Dave Mustaine as well. Those three alone have, they're still on the go just now. They're still delivering good music, performance-wise. They're still outstanding.
Oh yeah.
Was that the big ones for yourself? Was there any others as well?
Oh, there's so many others on top of the greats with Jimi Hendrix and Randy Rhoads and Stevie Ray Vaughan. Like, dude, the list goes on, man. I love it all. I love every genre of music, and not so much country, but if I had to say anything about country, it'd probably be that outlaw country, that old country, like Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Chris Christopherson, any like the Highwaymen or anything like that. But I'm influenced by so much, dude, and we really brought that to the table, when I did join Alibis.
It is quite cool as well, because obviously if you like heavy metal, thrash metal, but you can even see, looking back at Johnny Cash, who was like on the go 20, 30 years before these guys, there's elements of stuff in there that's just like, that's a rock star. Not doing rock music, but, from each genre, you've got Jim Morrison from The Doors, you've got obviously through to Led Zeppelin, and each 10 years there's like, I don't know if it happens so much now. There's not as much of a mystique around it because everybody knows everything. Everyone's got cameras and all that. Something really cool, sort of maybe the 80s back the way when as accessible.
I was kind of talking about that the other day, because I'm like, you don't really have these artists that people are just, like crying and fainting over like they did back in the day, because you can just look through your phone and see what's going on with them like immediately. There's, like you said, that mystique and everything just isn't there anymore.
Right.
I mean, I suppose it's the world we live in. Social media, it really is great for a lot of things, but you've also lost a lot of things as a result.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, I don't totally agree that, we should be, just personally, and I know it's the age we're in, so it's fine, but I don't think artists should have to give away every aspect of themselves. I think that's like Elvis and a lot of the really, really amazing big icons, it was because, again, like you said, there was less information. And so there was, sorry, my cat, there's less information. And so, hi, Nancy. And so I think it was just more interesting because you don't know everything about them, but now everyone has to give everything away about yourself and constantly do so much content that I personally think that we're losing sight of the artists and the artistry, although I don't think it's going to go backwards regardless, unfortunately. I hope it does, but I think that the only way to continue also is continuing to give so much of yourself away unless somehow society changes,
Yeah.
But
I've spoke with a lot of bands and artists, and back in the day, you would be a band, you would get together, you would write an album, you would do your tour, you would do your gigs, and that's pretty much all you had to do. That's all you had to worry about. And it's almost like you have to be a content creator now in order for people to discover you. And I don't know if it's like the older that I get, I've now got to go to my daughter and say, right, how do you do this and how do you do that? Because I'm not interested in TikTok and all that sort of stuff. But part of me is a wee bit like, well, whether you like it or not, I kind of feel like you maybe have to embrace it, whether you like it or not, because
of course.
That's the world that we live in.
Yeah, I think it's essential, and it's something that like even we are working on stepping up our game as far as more content. I think there's creative ways also to not give all of yourself away. Also, I think that there's something still rewarding in holding some things just for you as a person and especially as an artist. But I think also there are ways of doing consistent content that doesn't give away everything about everything of you, right? So, choosing specific topics that maybe are not everything, or just things that are so personal and things you don't want to share that maybe you share if you choose to share something of like a hidden track on an album, but not as content or, just certain things like that. I think that we have to get creative with ways to not totally give all of ourselves away. So
It's strange because I'm in my 40s. So I was brought up right through my teenage years before the internet existed.
Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously my daughter, she'll be nearly 20 and she's been brought up in a world she doesn't know anything different.
Yeah.
It's just such a different perspective.
Yeah.
And when it comes to music, I mean, there's not a right or a wrong answer, but, personally, I sometimes just miss the old days of how everything felt. But
totally.
A little bit of a dinosaur, but we'll move on from that. So the Alibis, I know that it originally started as Rainey's solo project, and it evolved into the band. So I noticed it was your solo project around lockdown, COVID lockdown?
Yeah, because I had decided, I was like, okay, I was in another band that took I was in that band for like almost like 9 years, and it took a lot of me, but I didn't have complete control over everything of the music. I sound like a world conqueror. I didn't have complete control. But I did. The thing is with that, I didn't fully know who I was going to become as an artist. And so for me, it was essential to move on from that project and also to really see what I was made of as a songwriter and as a singer, not just a singer, but as a songwriter, because that I really wanted to prove to myself that I knew I could write songs as good as I knew I could. So the project, the solo stuff, was really just to test my songwriting abilities, So I wrote those songs. I had written many songs before that too, but those were the ones that were released. And I was really proud of myself because I didn't know what even the music was going to sound like or anything like that. But I was just like, I'm going to buckle down and, whatever things I don't understand about programming music, I'm going to figure out, and whatever that is. And so, I wrote those songs, and I realized after like releasing those 5, I was like, I really think though that I still want to have a rock project. But I needed to like hone my ability of writing before I created Alibis, and met Chris. So that was like essential to us for starting before I even knew Chris. And then after releasing that EP, I was like, I want to, to make this a rock project. Now, ironically, we didn't end up using any of those songs because some of them sound pretty pop, and some of them are just different styles. But so we used some of the songs, actually, a couple of them when we very first started Alibis, because we were just still writing and we didn't have enough songs to even fill a set. So we used some of the songs for quite a long time, actually.
Yeah, we used them for a good year or so, and then they eventually got phased out.
Yeah. But that was very essential, and I think those songs are really great. I think that they're very
well written.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and I definitely will revisit that maybe as a solo project later on in my life or something. But yeah, so.
It's funny that you say that, because it's almost similar to myself across here. COVID lockdown was terrible for a lot of people, but for me personally, I kind of took a positive from it. It gave me a lot of downtime that I don't normally have.
Yeah.
And as a musician, a lot of time to start writing things and doing bits.
Yeah.
And I started a new project, and someone had said to me not too long ago, why are you not just solo? But there's a part of me that loves the idea of being in a band.
Yeah, right. That was for me too. And, the problem is I think when you're a solo artist too, just thinking about that, and I've talked to other people about this, I think there's something about the collaboration with somebody, even if it's like a duo or a trio or full band, whatever it is. For me, obviously, I stated earlier, like No Doubt was a big influence for me. Yeah. So I loved the band aspect just because it's kind of like theater in a way. There's a lot of different roles for everybody. But you're a unit, and everyone takes on different roles, but it's a team effort, and then it works, and so for me, I really like that aspect. And as the solo stuff, it was hard. It was great because I only could count on me, and I needed that at that time. But as I progressed in songwriting, I don't play guitar. I definitely plan to at some point, but I do. Don't you better watch out. I'm gonna play the second guitar. And then I actually gave Chris, when I was auditioning for players. Chris and I had met on Vamper, which is it's an app for musicians, and you kind of can meet other musicians on that. And so I had met Chris, and I gave him all those solo songs and said, make these rock, add guitar, don't run over the song. Some guitars still run over the song, and then, but he did such an amazing, he did better than anybody else. And I'm not just saying this, that's why he did better than anybody else that I had auditioned, because he didn't take over the song with guitar. He worked, he made it so that it flowed with what I already had. He didn't take over it, but he allowed the song to still shine and have that rock element to it. So,
but that means that Chris has probably got a good ear, because I have seen it as well, that you've got plenty of really great musicians out there. But sometimes they don't know when to pull it back.
Yes.
The spotlight has to be on me. And it backs up the wall, because I'm like, you should be playing to make the song better. So that might be that at one point you hardly play anything, because that's what is required of the song. And a lot of people to get that, which is it can be very frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And so I got really lucky because, he just he did an awesome job. And I was like, I want to work with him,
And your side, Chris, were you simply just looking for something new to get into?
Joining, yes, because I just came from another band, and there's a little bit of a crazy story with that. But after leaving that, I had to find somebody that was going to take this as seriously as I was, and I found that worth Rainey. And
how did Cameron come into it? Was that the same setup?
Yeah, he came much later, because we did so much work, and then by the time we built everything and we're like, okay, we're good to go. Now we can start bringing other people into the project and start building the band. And then we auditioned Cameron, and he was great.
Yeah,
I came across the band from Sebastian. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And Sebastian's awesome.
We love Seb.
We love Seb. Hopefully he comes back to the States and maybe he'll play bass for us again. We'll see.
Yeah, it's because I've got him on Facebook. I don't know him, but I kind of know him via Toby Rand.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right on. Yeah. I said that. Yeah. Go ahead.
I know Toby, and I've had the guys from Duke Cartel on the podcast already.
Oh, cool.
But I've probably spoke with Toby on and off for maybe the last 16 or 17 years. Long time. And then it was during COVID, he started to do Facebook Live, and he had Sebastian joining him, just doing a little bit of lead guitar and stuff like that. And then I realised, Sebastian's got another band.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, we love Sebastian. He's been gone for like 6 months now because he did a show up in Australia and he's been there still. So we've kind of had to continue forth, but we totally miss him. So, but he's supposed to come back to the States in November. So we'll see.
Yep. So see, when you think of the Alibis, the band, what is the current band's songwriting process? Do you have a songwriting process?
Just a very quick message to say thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos, like and leave a comment, let me know what you think of the episode and give me some suggestions on who I should interview in the future. Back to the video.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, it pretty much starts, it all starts with Rainey. She comes up with something and then she'll hand it off to me. And then from there, it's just back and forth from there. And then until it becomes something. And then we really sit there and dissect it and go about like, okay, you do this, I'll handle this. And then, by the end result, it's what it is. It just sounds great. And then usually, there's a lot of stuff too, like Rainey's personal stuff, like even with the song Mother, she'll be like, let's go over some old stuff that we have, like see if we can find something. And then when we came across that, originally Mother wasn't going to be a part of anything or even a part of Alibis. And I was like, no, dude, like that's great. That's raw. That's real. We need that. Like,
yeah. So usually what we'll do is, I'll sit down and, I'll write out the chord progressions and I'll come up with a chorus first. Just because, because I feel like sometimes I come up with verses first. Totally. Those are just super easy at first.
Do you do lyrics first?
Usually, no. So usually I'll just sit, I'll come up with the chord progressions and I will sing, whatever melody or whatever comes out of my mouth, but I listen for the melody. So I don't work on lyrics first, but I'll just trust whatever I'm feeling in that melody and see if I like it and if I feel like it's catchy, but it's also, is it representing what I want to say melodically? So, and then after that, sometimes it will just happen where that thing that I sing or the lyric will be what is chosen for, what I choose for the choruses, but so I'll do that first. And then after I feel like I got something legit and that I think is really cool, I'll give it to Chris and he'll be like, I hate it. I'm just kidding. But I'll give it to Chris.
Not all the time.
Anyway, and I'll give it to Chris and then Chris will start. I try to write out the whole song or get an idea of the verse of the melody pattern and whatever first. And so there'll be a template. It's all on the piano first, but and then I'll give it to Chris and then Chris he'll either start guitar or we'll sit down and figure out what kind of drum pattern we want. And Chris will figure out what we need to do with the drums. But that's kind of it's a mutual process. And then he'll do everything. He'll do the guitar and bass and
she'll lay down the foundation. I'll put up the walls and then she puts the roof on and then we're good to go.
Yeah.
It's quite nice though. You're obviously coming up with essentially what sounds like the skeleton of a song.
Yeah.
And then you present it to Chris, Cameron. They can then start to add their parts, and as a band, you build it into what ends up being the final.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's really cool. Yeah. So, we just Cameron started recently being more a part of the drums, but for a long time it was Chris that was programming drums for forever. And I'm glad that he does that, because sometimes I hate Chris is quicker at programming drums than me.
It's faster than me.
Cameron's cat faster than Chris. So
lyrics are lyrics just yourself, because sometimes a lot of people like a band to contribute apart from when it comes to the lyrics, because it's the one person singing the lyrics. They maybe need to connect with them a bit better. Are the lyrics just yourself?
Yeah, because I feel like for me as a performer, like, and you know, a lot of the songs, for me, they have to be pretty personal for me to really connect to the audience and to people watching the show. And I feel like I've got a lot to say. So I definitely, for me, it's all, the lyrics are me. Yeah.
If you take your lyrics aside, aside from the music, and just read the lyrics, do you like to have it that it's very obvious what you're singing about, or do you like to keep it a little bit more vague, that if 10 people were to listen to it, 10 people might take 10 different things away from it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a hard one. Like, for a lot of them, I know that I definitely like to tell a story. That's the one thing. I approach the songs as a story, but I'm challenging myself to not do that all the time. I think that's what you're asking in a way, because you're asking if I'm more vague. I feel like sometimes I'm vague, but I also want to be. I'm a very like direct person, so for me, like, I want the lyrics to be like in your face, kind of. So, you know, I guess I take a more direct approach, but I also have written things that are very not direct. So I guess it just depends on the song and the feeling of what, you know, what I want to say. Yeah.
The really cool thing about lyrics is they can change over time. So, for example, you could write a song about a certain thing, and if you're still performing that same song 10 years later, you will remember what you wrote the song about, but it might mean something different to you in 10 years' time. I remember watching, it was Pearl Jam were performing on a show, and they were talking in between the songs, you know, this is what this song is about, and blah, blah, blah. And it was the song Alive, you know, one of their first big songs.
Yeah.
And Eddie Vedder had said that the subject matter was partly to do with him growing up, and it was almost like a curse, you know, him saying, I'm still alive. But he says all these years later, it's completely changed. And when he hears people get back to him, it's like a celebration instead.
Yeah. No, totally. And that's 1000%. It's weird because lyrics take on that different role, and they will definitely mean something different to you. And that's happened to me so many times, as opposed to when you first write it. And sometimes actually what happens to me is that I'll write it and not totally know what I'm trying to say until I sing it and I sing the lyrics. And then it actually makes sense to me of what I was trying to say, because sometimes there's just this like weird feeling or intuition. I just have to say something, but I don't know how to explain it, but I don't totally know what I mean. And then it makes sense afterwards. So it takes on two different roles like that. But that one is fascinating. And that's happened to me many times, where it means something one way the first 5 years, and then singing it later, it's totally taken on something else based on your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, there's another band across here called Oasis. I don't know if you've heard of them. And the guitarist is the main songwriter. And he was asked about writing the songs as well. And he came up with a really great quote, because he'd said, I have no idea what this song means. I wrote the song and I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
But when 50,000 people sing it back to me, it means something to every one of them.
Oh, yeah. No. Totally.
Well, I love it, because people could relate. They find some way to relate to it, whether it's something it is vague enough to where somebody be like, you could relate to it in any way, or whether it is something personal, you know, as long as they relate to it in some way.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And that's the magic of music. I think it's also about self-discovery as the artist, because you know, like a lot of times, sometimes I feel like I'm just if this sounds silly to people, I feel like sometimes I'm just a channel for something else, you know, and like whatever, exactly like that. It's that the lyrics, I don't know what it means. And I, like, so many times I didn't know what it meant. I thought it was catchy, but I didn't understand, or I thought it was special in some way, where the song was good in some way, whether it was catchy or just had something in it that I thought was great. But I didn't understand what I was saying until later singing it. It's like weird, music is so is it transcendental or I forget the word, but it's transforming it for the individual and for the audience. It's nuts how amazing music is.
And I think people could really see through that if it's like, oh, this is something real, or like, this is just, somewhat,
oh, yeah.
Because we've had a lot of people actually that show like a lot of emotion. We have like people crying, like right in front of us on stage, and we're like, holy shit, we're like moving people,
Yeah, and that's important.
You're performing really, really bad.
No, it might sound a little bad tonight. I'll blame the engineer.
Another question then: how does the band like to record? What is your recording process?
Well, it's kind of the same thing. We record demos the same way of how we write it. So, I'll come up with like a chorus and, some chord progressions. And I'll be like, hey, Chris, this is, well, I used to not ever ask him what he thought. I was like, just write to this, Now I ask him, and actually I think it's a curse, because now when I ask him, if he doesn't like it, I'm like, dude, fuck you.
Every Sunday she's working on all day. And I'll come in and she could tell right away, like if I'm excited about it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's great. And then if I'm quiet, I'm like, oh yeah. No,
Yeah, so it's kind of a curse, because I used to not ask him at all, because and I think because initially in the beginning, especially, I wasn't going to ask him because I was very certain on what I was doing. I'm extremely certain now, but I think because as the process has evolved and we work together now a couple of years, that I'm involving him more of like, what do you think, and things like that. And it's good and it's bad, because if I think it's great, but it's also something that like I'm learning to be like, okay, even if he doesn't like it, I don't care, and things like that. So, and of course, like I respect what he says, but at the same time, you
got to be honest with each other.
Totally. It's super important. It's just, it's just as like balancing beam where it's a tightrope walk, I guess is the right word.
I think a band can be a hard thing, and it's easier if you're able to leave ego at the door.
Oh yeah, totally.
But a lot of people that can't do that.
Yeah,
and it can destroy bands. But kind of talking about that, what makes the Alibis work? Not in terms of success or anything, but I mean, you've been in other bands prior to this band as well. What makes a band work? Does a band need a leader? Does it need someone taking control? Does it need to have an equal split between the members? What do you think makes a band work?
I think the main thing that makes a band work is like everyone has to be on the same page. Everyone has to be aligned to the same path. Everyone has to contribute equally. That's the only way you're going to get things done, usually,
I somewhat disagree, because I think a band needs to have a vision, and I was in other bands, and it was primarily two people that did all the work, which is similar to this. I think that like there has to be a vision, and the other, if it's at least another person, because sometimes, other people will play roles within the band, but I don't think it never happens really and it's rare that all of the effort is split evenly. I think that, everyone has their own role to play. And sometimes that's frustrating, because you're like, well, why am I doing all this work when this other individual just shows up and plays? But you need that person also. So I think it just depends. But I think as far as making the band work, the one thing that I think Chris and I have is we really connect songwriting wise. I just feel like it was a magical like connection as far as understanding what I wanted and understanding the vibe of it, and Chris just matching that completely. So it really worked as far as the songwriting, and we knew we had something really special. And then from there,
the chemistry is everything.
Yeah. And we knew that like we were on the same page, and the fact of we're both very driven, I think works. So even if other people come into the process and maybe they're not, they don't have as much to give, or, you know, a lot of times the other instruments, especially now with technology, it's harder that maybe they don't have as much as a role to play other than live sometimes. And maybe that is their role, you know, in the short course. But yeah, so I don't think it's always equal. It never was equal in the last band I was in either. It was me, and the other person. So yeah, I don't know, but I think the primary foundation has to be that you both have a vision, and you believe the vision so much that you're willing to be disillusioned until you get it. And the songs,
It's an interesting one. I spoke with a band, and they realised very early on that the guitarist singer was also an extremely good songwriter.
Right, yeah.
There's 4 people in the band, and it was still an equal split between the 4 of them. They were all providing something to the band to make it better, but them realised this person's got we trust this person's vision. We're going to get behind him, back him up.
Right.
I've also spoke with other bands where it's got to be this equal split because other people feel left out. And it's a bit of a minefield. And I think it's sometimes when it comes down to that, it's finding the right personality.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's just, I mean, for me and the other bands I've been in, I think it's like the first one you said, like having the vision and the other people trusting that vision enough to put their money where their mouth is too, and allow, you know, that everyone to move forward with certain roles. So, but, you know, I've never been in a band where things are an equal split. So, I mean, maybe that works, you know, I don't know, you know. So
I've never been in it either, but
I think they're a mythical unicorn. I don't know, but hey, if it works for you, it works for you. Yeah. You know,
you're obviously based in LA. What is the LA gig scene like today? Is it still decent?
It's decent. I mean, it's good. There's a lot of great musicians out here, but we just got done recording in Nashville not too long ago, and I said it before and I'll say it again. I mean, the
talent,
the worst guitar player in Nashville would cream the best guitar player in LA. I'd say that.
Yeah. I do think though there's a lot of badass bands that I've seen that are coming up over here. So it's really cool. But what's different is like the Nashville scene, people are like more friendly, a little more outgoing and open to just like playing at different places and clubs because it's a different scene. LA is more like LA, there isn't you're not playing to bars that have like a window that's open where people are actively walking by and things like that because it's just not structured like that. So it doesn't lend itself to being a more friendly environment. It's more competitive. So it's just, it's 2 different scenes, I think, you know?
Very much so. You nailed it there.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, you've done writing and recording. And then second to that, you also do performance, play live on stage.
Yeah.
For the rest of your days, if you had to pick one, writing and recording or performing live, which one would you pick to do?
Did you pause too?
I had to pause.
Wow. I refuse to answer that question because I would.
I mean, because does that mean I can't do one without the other? Like,
no, it's saying you have to choose either you're going to be a writer or you're going to be a performer.
Man, I'd like to be both. If you know,
let's assume that money-wise you're paid the same for each of them. Which one do you think you would pick if you had the choice?
It's incredible. That's incredibly hard because creating music that's just what we do. That's our purpose.
Fun, but not
performing is just that's everything.
Totally performing.
I
mean, there's no better high than performing for a huge audience, you know?
Yeah. Does that mean that I can write the songs or play them on stage? Like, how detailed can we get here?
I mean, we got a lot of questions.
Yeah. I think you're overthinking it.
I'm totally overthinking it.
I refuse to answer the question because they both coincide. And if without one, I would hate the other.
Yeah, I'd have to do both.
Yeah, like it would have to be music that meant something to me, which means I'd have to write it. But I absolutely love performing. So
because if I'm not creating it, am I going to be happy performing it?
Yeah. Right. Right, that's what I mean. You wouldn't be, but then you wouldn't be happy if you're like just writing it.
I'll just be creating something great than what somebody else is before.
Yeah, I'm not answering.
You'd maybe end up like Guns N' Roses, just keep performing and just never ever release any new stuff.
That would be awful. I'd feel like everyone would be talking behind my back, being like, "Where's the new songs?"
I mean,
they're such a legacy act. I really think nobody really cares if they don't write anything new.
Yeah,
the musicians on stage, there's a reason why they do their solo projects. Let's put it that way.
yeah,
Exactly.
right, exactly. It's true.
But I looked at the Alibis singles and that you've released. There were a couple of singles in 2023. There was a couple of singles 2024. I think there was an EP as well.
Yeah.
What are you currently working on?
Well, okay, so we did not plan on not releasing any music this year, but it's just that it took a little while longer because we're working on, 4 different new stuff, different songs, and, it's just been difficult to get it all done within a timely fashion because there's so many elements to trying to get it done.
Yep.
That, we finally were like, okay, so we have a bunch of new singles coming out, and they'll be released at the beginning of the year. And sometimes it was frustrating because we wanted to come out the gate strong with 2 new singles at least this year, but it just for whatever reason did not lend itself to getting done in quickly as it needed to be. I will also say for this batch of songs, there was some stuff that for me, I didn't like what I was writing initially. So I would throw it away and be like, fuck this. I don't like this. I want to write something else. And then I would go to this and then, I'd finish that song, but I didn't love it. And so, part of it is my fault because, I didn't love what I initially was doing. And I want to love what I'm doing. So, I definitely, I don't want to be angry at myself, but I allowed it took a little longer initially because I didn't like what I was writing. And the irony is after I finished the songs, I loved it, but it took me a long time because I started,
Sometimes I think you need to live with the songs.
Right.
A while. We've got a rock band here and we done 3 albums.
Yeah.
8 songs on each album. At the time, you're writing the best 8 songs that you can write.
Right.
But as the years go on and you go back and listen to them, you go, maybe there was only 5 that were great, and there was the 3 weren't terrible, but they weren't as good as the other 5.
Right.
So we done sort of 3 demo albums, and then we've actually went back this year and re-recorded. So out of the 24 songs, there's 16 really solid songs, and then there's other ones that they're not terrible songs, but they're also not as good as other ones.
Right, yeah.
You have to live with it a little bit of a while.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and I think that there's a high expectation of having great songs, at least in my brain, for the next release of them. So by the time that I got done with those, the first initial skeletons of them, and Chris finished them as well. We both
we kind of ran into the same problem because there's a lot of stuff that I was writing and I was just like, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's great. And the next day you listen to it and you're like, no, this is garbage. I didn't like this. I've
got a business proposal for you. Okay?
What? Yeah.
I was listening to your song earlier, Sellout.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know what it sounds like it would be perfect for?
What?
The next James Bond movie.
Hell yeah. I totally agree.
I thought it sounded like it would have fitted perfectly. And obviously they're going to have to redo that franchise because they're getting a new actor to play the character.
Yeah.
They'll need a new song for the movie.
It should be solo.
That'd be great.
Completely agree.
That'd be great.
Who do we contact so that it can be licensed? Yes.
I don't know. But before we finish up, we've been obviously, for any musicians that are watching, quite technical with songwriting, recording, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to ask you some fun questions.
Okay.
After the questions, you just tell me what pops into your head. Okay?
We'll try not to overthink it.
Yeah.
So imagine you could go back in time, anywhere in the world, big gig, small gig. What is the one concert that you wish that you could have attended?
Woodstock.
All right.
The Family Values tour.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Thinking about your own gigs, is there one that, see if you could have been a spectator at your own gig, is there a gig that stands out that you think would have been quite a cool gig to see? One of your own gigs?
I'm going to go in the future in that one. I wish I could be out in the crowd watching us when we play at the Forum or something like that.
I'm gonna second that. Yes.
Oh, that's fine. Does the perfect album start to finish exist? And if so, what is that album or albums?
I mean,
Damn.
I don't know if the perfect album exists, but
I think there's some strong ones.
yeah,
out there.
I would say.
Jeez.
I mean, I loved Tori Amos growing up, so I think she was badass. So I would say her what you call it, Little Earthquakes album for me. So
I'm just gonna go out there, I guess. I'm just gonna say the Black album for me, but I wasn't so much of a fan with the Struggle Within. But the almost every song on there was fucking great.
Yeah, that the Struggle Within's got one of the best guitar solos though.
It does. I do like it. I don't know. It's just something about that particular song anyway. It didn't resonate with me like every other song on that album.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. For anybody that, if you were to sit down with someone that has never heard the Alibis, what one song would you play them that you think best represents the band?
Dark Side.
You both agreed. That's fine. Right. As you know, thousands of great songs, millions of great songs have been written and recorded across the years by different bands, different artists. What is the one song that you wish you could have sat in the recording studio to witness the band record it?
I'd say Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Actually, I would second that. Only because Freddie Mercury is like one of my heroes, and so I would love to have been alive and been able
to be a fly on the wall in there, dude.
And how over the top that song is and phenomenal, and how that one.
I had a person on the podcast maybe last season, and you know how Queen do the We Will Rock You musical? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I didn't know that. They are?
Yeah, well, it's been on the go for 20-something years now.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Like in the West. So it's a musical based around the Queen music. So it's not about the band. There's a completely separate story, but they use Queen's music.
Wow.
When they decided to put this together, it was Brian May and Roger Taylor were based.
Wow, that's so awesome.
They were putting it together. They decided to search the world for musicians. So previously, I think if it was a theatre production, there would be musicians from the theatre world that would audition to be in the show. But they decided that they wanted it open to everybody. So musicians outside of the theatre world were also welcome to audition. And there was a guy that came on who was picked by Brian May and Roger Taylor to be the guitarist. They thought he was the best guitarist that represented Brian May's sound. It was a guy from Australia, and they flew him over, and he actually lives in the UK now. And he was just, the stories that he was telling us about Queen, Freddie Mercury, the stories he had heard were great. But Brian May actually took his children aside and thanked them for allowing him to borrow their dad.
Wow.
Well, that's how cool.
That's amazing. That's awesome. That's so cool.
And last question for yourselves. I know the answer might change daily, but for today, for each of you, who is your Mount Rushmore when it comes to bands or musicians?
I would say for me, it's Tori Amos, because she was such a big inspiration for me.
I'd say as far as a band right now, I'd say Sleep Token.
Four?
Or Big Four.
Sleep Token.
Sleep Token,
Tori Amos,
Bad Omens.
Evanescence, and
dude, there's so many.
I would say Queen. Yeah. I
think Chris is going to say Metallica.
Chris is obsessed with Metallica.
I mean, first four albums, but
yeah, that's fine. That's great. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. For anybody that is following or wanting to follow the band, use our social media. They can go on there, give you a follow, subscribe on YouTube. Your actual website itself, alibimusic.com. They can go check out tour dates, merchandise, any releases, any up-and-coming news. But thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.